Coach, I brought it on a little bit quick. I thought I'd get it right that time. My production crew is just shaking their heads again. They're just shaking their heads again. Coach Madonna, welcome to your coach's show, man. What a privilege it is for us to be able to talk to you each Sunday afternoon. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Thanks for letting us tell our story and highlight our kids.
Well, we're at the end of week 2, so we're beyond the middle of the first season of football. What are your thoughts, Coach?
Well, I like the way we're progressing. Obviously, we took a tough loss Friday night. Anytime you lose close like that, you evaluate every little thing and all the second thoughts and should have did this or wish I would have did that, or everything gets magnified. But at the end of the day, that's what these games are for. These first 3 games, non-district games, are to prepare you for the flow of the season. And so this was a good game for us to take on the chin early, so we can fix some of those mistakes that maybe didn't get exposed last week and give us an opportunity versus a really good Duncan team this week to fix those mistakes and get ready for a district run.
Well, before we go on to Duncan, we will talk about Duncan and that team that comes in 2-1, and we're traveling in the second game of a 3-game road trip. First time that this team last week at Ardmore has been on the road as a group, and it takes some time to gel and to come together. But let's talk a little bit about that game just real quick. First of all, talking about gelling and come together, let's talk about your signal caller. He's been a guy that I've noticed on the field with a lot of talents. I was happy to see him in the second half get a break and not have to be out there on that press corner. Talk a little bit about your quarterback and how he's been progressing, Coach.
Yeah, he's getting better each week. We threw the ball a little bit better this week than we did last week. And he's able to utilize his athleticism a lot. I think you saw that when we got down in the red zone this week, where he rushed for 3 touchdowns. And having a guy that can utilize his athleticism like that at the quarterback position is the ultimate equalizer for an offense, because now you have to play 11 on 11. If you got a stiff guy, even if he can throw the ball well in high school football, it's still about what you can do on the ground. And so having him and be able to use his legs like he does, and then you still have to cover because he's got an absolute cannon. So his ability, in the threats that he carries as a quarterback, really helped propel us offensively. He's doing a good job of managing it. We had a turnover on downs on a sack we took on a 4th down, which they covered well. He's trying to find someone to make a play, and then then we end up on a scramble drill, and he thinks he can float one over and just does it a little too high. And so secondary ends up getting a pick right there before halftime. So that's obviously a sequence, 2 consecutive drives right there where we wish we would have performed a little better and kind of gone into halftime either with the lead or tied. But instead, we faced some adversity there. We go into halftime down. And I did think we did a good job responding to that. But I think throughout the whole game, he led us. And in that second half, he was a little beat up. And so he, we kind of limited some of his reps defensively so that he could continue to help us score. But hopefully in the future, he can get to the point where he can, perform at a high level on both sides.
Sure. Well, he certainly showed that in game 1, and it was good to see Kevin Tyner out there, the senior, being able to step in, get some playing time. And you mentioned his passing, 14 receptions for over 200 yards, 10 plus yards a carry. And in fact, did I say that right? 14 of 23. So he ended up close to 10 yards per attempt, which in high school football, for people who don't know, that's a very good per attempt average. He comes away with 3 touchdowns. Awesome. Another young man that showed up, we call him Big Time McClendon. What about Dayton and what he has given you so far this year?
Well, the good thing about Tate, that's what he goes by, Tate McClendon. He's always patient. He's never in a rush, and he just kind of lets the game come to him. And we have a lot of talent offensively. We got guys all over the field that, we're trying to get the ball to, and he just kind of waits his turn. And he did a really good job of being the closer for us. Every possession we were down a score and we needed to score, and he just kept making plays and really ignited us late in the game to keep us in it and give us an opportunity.
Yeah, Tate ended up with 173 yards on 11 carries. He had that blast for 70 yards down that far sideline. And boy, it just a lot of fun to watch the talent that's on your team. But coach, they wouldn't be doing what they were doing if they weren't supported by that offensive line. There we see Chuffy Walden. And Chuffy, I get the privilege of sitting by his parents sometimes, talking to them. A junior on the squad. He handles that left tackle position. Talk a little bit about those guys up front. Were you happy with what they did this week?
Yeah, I thought they've been playing really well. And my old high school coach, Gary Groves, he always preaches it takes about 6 weeks for an offensive line to gel, and I think we're a little ahead of schedule. We knew that was going to be a strong point to our team coming into it with Jaquan and Caden, Kendall, Chuffy, all being returning starters, and then Rosario, who had significant playing time last year, inserted into the starting lineup. So those five come in with a lot of experience. And the good thing about that is they're able to communicate. They're able to make adjustments out on the field. They're a mature group, so they're able to handle kind of when we don't do well and then able to still perform. And so it's really a blessing to have that five and for them to gel the way they are and participate the way they are and continue to lead us on the ground, and also pass protection wise.
Yeah.
I mean, the sack that we did take there on that fourth down, we were it was a little bit long, trying to get somebody open downfield, and they did a good job of blitzing on that edge and forcing us up into the pocket. But I think that unit is probably our highest rated unit right now, performance wise, and they're gelling at a good pace, and they're going to have to lead us into success offensively.
Well, something that we have started to take for granted, and you never can in high school athletics, is the kicking position. And this week, I thought we had an outstanding performance from an up-and-comer, a sophomore, as Parker Snow did a wonderful job with the extra points, coach, all throughout the game. And I thought one of the most important plays of the game was when we took that 5-yard penalty on the extra point because of illegal motion or whatever that call is. And he stepped back, and we needed that extra point, and he popped it. And he popped it with a lot of distance. It was unfortunate how it ended, but I think that had very little to do with Parker Snow.
That's true. Yeah, that was his protection up front. And, that's one of those things you go back is, if only we could predict the future, I'd have ran down there and called a timeout. But we'll get that cleaned up on the protection part of it and be more consistent there. But he did a really good job just focusing on the kick and the follow through it and making his extra points. Being 6 for 7 on that deal is pretty impressive. And what people don't know about Parker is he puts a lot of time into his craft. We have several guys, and he went out to battle to be in that position, and he's done a really good job and put in a lot of work at that craft. And that's not a position there's just a ton of kids signing up to play.
Mm-hmm.
He is a soccer player, but he puts a lot of time into his football kicking skills and even after practice at night. And so it paid off for him, and we're really proud of his effort.
Me too, for sure. And another one that I'm very proud of, and I see come in and day out, Katie Palmer. Talk a little bit about this, coach. Is last week, Katie came out of really nowhere and ran for 170 plus yards. This week, it was pretty obvious that they were keying on him in the backfield, and he didn't get 170 yards, though. He got yardage. And then he goes out and he gets 170 yards receiving out of nowhere. The kid, he doesn't care how he gets the ball. And I use this picture on purpose because it was one of those pictures in which it just shows the heart of a champion. This is on the defensive side, and he came from 5 yards behind this. It was a breakaway run, and it's a saving tackle for a touchdown on the defensive side of the ball. That kid, KD Palmer, he just wants to win, man. It's obvious.
Yeah, he is. He's an ultimate competitor, and he has been since he's been younger. And he runs with a lot of force. If you could be close enough on the field when he's coming in motion for a jet sweep, you can hear him coming. I mean, have to tackle him. He's just so explosive. We can get him the ball different ways. he's kind of like our Day Shaw this year. We used Dace last year, down the field receiving, throwing screens to him, handing him the ball off. And so he kind of fills that position for us and does a really good job and does it in multiple ways. And we kind of thought there in the second quarter we had an opportunity to hit him for a deep ball. And so I went and asked him, hey, can you run this route and get open? He said, absolutely. And Braylon did a good job of getting the ball out there, waiting for him to clear. And a one-play, 65-yard touchdown kind of shows some of that explosiveness. And then he takes those jet sweeps. And this week in our heavy package, they had a good plan for us. And so we didn't get it. But you look at that 4th and 1, and we get some leakage up the middle, so he avoids the leakage. He's going to run outside, and then they're sitting outside waiting for him. He sticks his foot in the ground and goes back to where the leakage was and gets us a first down. So just, his ability to start and stop and his explosiveness is one that's going to, be a huge asset for us offensively. And then he comes in on defense. He doesn't play a ton because of how valuable he is for us on offense, and we try to save some of his legs because he did have a injury this summer, and so we're trying to get him back into shape. But you can't tell by the way he runs.
You cannot. Savvy. He's a savvy football player. And talk about savvy. You want some savviness? Go this week or at the end of this month to the St. Benedict's Fall Festival. You want to bring your family to this festival. They'll all love you for it. They'll know that you have savvy when you bring them to the Fall Festival. Start at the Granny's Attic, which is going to open at about 9 a.m. And then all the Fall Festival festivities start about 10, really get swinging around noon. They have great food out there. All of the church members are there having a great time serving you and making different things. Always a fun time. And the reason, Coach, that I bring that up is because, again, another great team meal at St. Benedict's this week. Marco's Pizza supplying the food, and we were able to come together and just have a great time as a team. How great is that over at St. Benedict's?
It's awesome. It's huge for them to open up their facility for us, even though they've got other things going on and they could probably use the break, but they don't. They allow us to come in. They allow us to eat. And thank you to Marco's and for supplying our food for this week, and all the other people that have donated their time and effort. And it's good. It's good for our kids. We even have kids that walk down there. Everybody gets to go, not just the kids that play on Friday night, but the freshmen, the coaches, and so it's a really neat experience just to kind of sit down and enjoy a meal together, because typically, practice is so go, hustle and bustle, and then game day, you're trying to get ready, you're getting on the bus, you're leaving, you're getting back, getting everything undone. So sometimes it's good just to sit down, share a meal, and just enjoy each other's company.
Yeah, it has been wonderful, and there's going to be 8 more. We have a couple other churches filling in when St. Benedict's has to get ready for that fall festival in a couple of weeks. But next week, we're going to enjoy City Bites, and who knows what the extra stuff coming in will be, but I bet the boys like it. We've got some ideas for that. And now transitioning into next week, there's one thing from the stands, Coach, that, we can kind of tell player frustration out there on the field. And that can be frustrating all throughout the sideline. I know it's frustrating for coaches when penalties get in the way. Last week, coming home, I was talking with my son, Zedek, and I thought, if we didn't have penalties, we would have won that game. And what is it that we have to do, Coach, to improve in that area and just kind of contain our emotions a little bit better and not get those 15-yard or those little penalties that chip away?
Yeah, and I think we're improving. Going from week 1 to week 2, we really cut it down. I think we had one bonehead not in the live play of action penalty Friday night, and just, the second guy gets caught. There's some pushing and shoving, and they threw it on us, and that was an immature moment on our part. But you look at the overall grand scheme of things, they're going to call personal foul for a face mask, whether, that's just, it is the call. But the bonehead stuff, we've really done a good job, I thought, going from PC North to Ardmore, really cutting down. And also the equipment malfunction we only had one guy, I think, get pulled off. Yeah. And so we kind of corrected that, and the kids did a good job of responding. Now, there was some untimely, it felt like every time they had a 3rd and long on their side of the field, they got a timely flag over there, but that's part of it. So, Obviously, every coach in America feels the same way. You know, you feel like always the calls go against you, but there's times when they benefit us too. You know, they had a touchdown called back because of a chop block, and versus PC North, they pull off their quarterback on fourth down because of equipment malfunction, and so that was a little bit of a blessing for us. So it goes both ways, but you know, after a loss, you tend to focus on the negatives. And so what we have to do as young men, you know, we're dealing with teenagers here, and they're emotional, and they put a lot of work in. And that's what a lot of people don't realize is, you know, for football season, you get 10 opportunities and you put in 365 days of work. I mean, these kids have been working specifically on football since April, you know, and they've had 2 opportunities. And so there's a lot of internal, just like want to, and emotion that goes along with it. And so as coaches, we're trying to teach them how to handle those emotions and how to not focus on what you can't control. We can't control the referees. We can't control penalties that we disagree with. We can't control it when we have penalties that they don't call. So we have to just, you know, focus on. It's the same thing in life. You know, you can't focus on the negative things that happen to you. You know, Shawnee got hit by a tornado just a couple of years ago. And if we just focus on the destruction, how are we going to get through the recovery? And so these are life lessons that they're going to have to put in place when they get older. And so that's just part of our growth process, and we'll continue to work on it. But I was really proud of them and how we cut them down from week 1 to week 2. And we'll continue to work on it, because when we get in those big time moments where we want to go as a program in November and December, then those are going to be crucial moments in the game where we have to just focus on our task.
I hear you, Coach. Great things come from destruction. And so how do we step forward in this next week and dismantle a pretty good Duncan team?
Yeah, so Duncan, they're 2-1. They beat Bridge Creek and Cash, and then they lost to Guthrie. And you look at Guthrie, in my opinion, is a really good football team. And they Duncan hurt themselves. They had some turnovers. They gave up a punt return. They fumbled deep in their own territory. They kind of set up some short scores for Guthrie. And so even though the score is just 34-10, it was a little closer football game than that. And so they got a veteran quarterback, real similar in Braylon, who's a really good athlete, also plays cornerback on defense. The running back, number 8, is really talented, runs really hard, and their defensive line is fast, and they slant and move, and they're all over the place. So it's going to be a unique challenge for us, which is why you play tough teams in the non-district, is because we got to get ready for the district road. And so they'll present a unique challenge for us, and it'll be a great opportunity for us to kind of reset, get back on track, and perform better, fix our mistakes. But one thing we tell the kids after a win or a loss, you have to watch the film with humble eyes. You have to focus on our corrections and make sure that we don't repeat those same mistakes over and over again, and continue to grow throughout the season so that we can peak at the right time, which is late November.
Well, and for a team that's getting over averaging, I would say, Coach, 500 yards of offense. I mean, you lose a game 49-48, and it'd be an extra point with 2 minutes to go that you don't capitalize on, that, you know, keeps you from going to overtime. It's good or easy for us on this side to say, well, offense has been going good. What about Coach McGuire and his play calling, and how that's been working out for you as head coach to be able to manage everything else that goes on game night?
Yeah, it's been really good for us. You know, it's been really good. He brings a unique perspective, and the relationship that he and I have, he's able to do some things, and I can kind of just be that voice and that oversee vision, and some of the veterans we've added on staff. And like I've talked a lot before, I think we have a really good group of guys, a really humble, sensible group of men that are here to lead kids in the right direction. And so Coach McGuire has been dialing up, and I think, you know, the biggest thing is we're utilizing our strengths. You know, we have a really good, what we feel like is a pretty good offensive line, a veteran offensive line. We have an athletic quarterback, and we have some dynamic guys with the ball in their hands. And so it's not perfect. You know, you look at it, and there's, you know, anytime you lose a close game, you go underneath the magnifying glass, and there's different series or play calls that we wish we had back, or execution we wish we did a little better. But whether you lose the game 49-48 or you lose the game 7-6, the hurt is the same, and you got to go figure out where the biggest mistakes were, and then figure out a correction, how we can fix it in just a week. And so we'll do that. But no, Coach McGuire has been doing an amazing job. Coach Bullock, Coach Harrison, Coach Brown with that offense, and that offensive line is really leading the way for what we feel like has been a productive rushing attack.
Well, talk about leading the way. How about everybody loves it when the band shows up? I'm telling you, it just creates a great atmosphere on the Shawnee sidelines, and Shawnee families travel to support the Wolves. We're going down to Duncan, Coach. How about that band, man? How about that band?
Yeah, they've been doing a really good job. I hear them every morning. They practice before school out on the football field. So when I'm in my office watching film or checking grades or doing whatever I'm doing, I hear them. And they work extremely hard. A lot of people don't realize this. They start practicing in the summertime. They're up here just like we are, working and marching and getting ready and practicing. And we got new leadership with our band this year, and they're traveling to away football games. And it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool to look up, just the band itself and the parents that travel with the band. It really makes the crowd look more full. And so it just makes the high school experience that much better. And Cheer and Palm have been doing a great job of getting the crowd going for us. And I feel like as this community supports us really well, I feel like we travel well. I feel like when you look in the stands briefly as you're walking back and forth, it looks full, and people are cheering, getting after it. And so it's comforting, and I think it makes a lot of the hard work worth it, because these kids, they put in a lot of time and effort. So to be able to perform in front of their friends and family is a big part of the deal.
I agree 100%. And there's a bunch of pictures over there from Friday night for you band guys and for the parents and for the Chom squads. Go on over to ShawneeCTV.com, sign up, get those pictures over at our Smug Mug. They're free for you. We want you to use them. We want you to share them with grandpas, grandmas, loved ones, friends, just anybody to just feel some of the excitement that's going on with Shawnee Athletics this fall sports season. Softball's over there, volleyball's over there. I think there's some cross country over there. There's a little bit of everything. JV football is over there. So ShawneeCTV.com for your free photos. Coach, final thoughts going on to Duncan on Friday night. Give us your invitation for the whole community to show up.
We need it. We need the support. We got a lot of young men that this is their first season as a varsity starter for Shawnee. And so for them to feel the crowd and the presence when we go on another long road trip versus a team that's, 2-1 and coming off of a tough loss as well with an athletic quarterback that's very dynamic and a fast defense. So we're going to need that support. And so come on down, Google a nice restaurant on the way, and maybe stop at get some barbecue in Chickasha, and then finish the way on down, and then come support your Wolves. I may be biased on this, but I don't think there's a lot better option than to sit and watch your hometown team perform on Friday night and see the band play. I think our band performed down there in Ardmore, and they do a really good job. And so you get a little extra than just a football game, and kind of get to see different towns around. Duncan's a one-horse town, similar to what we are. Same thing with Ardmore is. And so I think it's just kind of cool to get to go see communities around the state that you may not otherwise.
It's a great travel opportunity. That is so true, Coach. And it is so much fun. No better entertainment value than high school sports is what we like to say at ShawneeCTV. Just beautiful. And again, Coach, we appreciate you giving us your time on Sunday afternoon. We hope that you and your family are doing great. We hope you get some rest for this upcoming week with the kids, and your coaching staff doing a great job. Just looking forward to another Friday night with the Shawnee Wolves.